Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would answer one of the most common questions I get. I see this in Q&As all the time. I see it all over the place. I'll see it in my comments. I see it even in my younger, thinner, skinnier clients who need to bulk up. And it's always, Jason, I am running this squat or bench program, right? I'm running this squat or bench program, and I'm not getting stronger. Why am I not getting stronger? What's the problem? I ran this and my squat didn't go up. And it would be one thing if they squat 450 or they bench 300, 315 already, but it's novice type lifters. And I don't mean rank novices, but I mean it'll be guys who, they can squat a plate and a half per side for a few reps, 2 plates a side. They can bench press a plate or a plate and some change for reps, right? This is what you see all the time. These are the people who ask these questions. And here's the issue with that. Why didn't it go up? Because you didn't gain any muscle. And notice I didn't mention the deadlift here, right? The deadlift is its own unique beast. The deadlift is not as tied to muscle mass. I'm not saying muscle doesn't matter enormously. It's not as tied to muscle mass and significant amounts of muscle mass as these other two lifts are. The bench press in particular is heavily tied to the amount of muscle in your upper body. Okay? The squat is heavily tied to muscle through your full body with a bias in your lower body. And this is what DEXA scans show. This is what studies show. So if you ran some program to make you better at the bench press or the squat and they didn't go up, what's the only possible answer? Because you lifted heavy, right? Well, your heavy lift should be going up. If you lifted really heavy on these, your neuromuscular efficiency and intramuscular coordination should be higher. So what's the only possible explanation? Well, you didn't gain muscle. All right. That's the answer. So the question becomes, why didn't you gain muscle? Well, you didn't gain muscle because oftentimes these peaking programs assume you're doing other supplemental work. A lot of times they assume you're on drugs. Okay? I mean, let's be realistic here. A lot of these programs are not particularly high volume. They don't put a lot of hypertrophy on you. So they either assume you have spent a very long phase of gaining muscle and bulking, or you're on gear, and then you peak the muscle that you have. Well, the other issue we run into is that a lot of novice lifters, they're not running even their minimalist programs as much as they should. In other words, I have programs that are out there, but there's quite a bit of volume. Are you doing all of the rowing hard? Are you doing all the work? Okay. Are you doing all the overhead pressing? And even then, those are very short-lived programs. Like my novice program 2.0, I don't intend you to run that more than a few months. It's a very minimalist program to be run for a few months, and then you go on to more advanced, higher volume programming. You would never run something like that for like 9 months or a year. You shouldn't. You're running my ice cream fitness program as a novice. Look how much training volume is there. Are you doing the supplemental work? Because here's realistically what happens. A lot of these programs that are just squatting and just bench pressing, there's a decent amount of volume there, but it's not going to be enough to maximize muscle growth other than for an early novice. But what's also required even then is that you be doing what? Eating enough and sleeping enough to gain muscle. And you need to be realistic about this stuff. It is going to be based upon your muscle gain. Like you guys will watch me do all this high volume of training to gain muscle, right? Because I'm an advanced lifter. And then you'll be like, wow, Jason, you put in an entire year for your squat to go up 40 pounds. Okay. You put in an entire year for your bench press to go up 15 pounds. We'll go back and look at some of you novice guys who are like, well, I put on my 5-rep squat, I put 50 pounds on it in a few months and then it stalled. Well, hey, great. I wish I could do that in a few months. But you did. You made gains. The problem is you're no longer making gains because, number one, you may not be doing enough training volume. Like, do you really think a few heavy sets of squats and bench press are going to get you big? How many big people do you know who train that way? Not many. You need the supplemental workout. I'm not saying we shouldn't be lifting heavy. I max out. I have all my clients max out every week. We lift really heavy. But everything else is the training volume to put size on you. So again, a lot of these programs are under the assumption that you already have a big muscle base. All right? A lot of these programs for more advanced lifters, I don't care what, I've seen people asking about Candido's program. And it's like, well, why are you running Candido's program when he probably intends it to be for very advanced lifters? There may not be enough volume in there to build a muscle base. Okay? Or you're running some of these other squat programs. There's not enough posterior chain work. Well, you need to be doing the extra work. You're going to have the training volume to gain size. When you're an early novice, you can put a lot of strength on through neuromuscular efficiency, through coordination, intramuscular and intramuscular coordination. Okay? And the same thing when you first start doing maxes. But then that more or less grinds to a halt. Then you have to gain muscle again. You have to get bigger. And if you're not putting in the volume, you're not getting bigger. The other thing, are you eating and sleeping enough to get bigger? You know, you'll get a guy who's like, well, I mean, I weigh 160 pounds. Okay, are you 5'3"? Like, what delusional world do you live in to where you think you're going to get really, really strong at 160? Unless you're short. If you're an average height guy, the average Joe walks around at 160. I mean, if you're 5'9", 5'10", the average guy who doesn't lift walks around at 160. Are you stronger than him? Then what are you complaining about? Or my guys who are less than that, I get guys who are less than that, and they'll discuss this, and they'll be 6 foot tall. They weigh 155, and they wonder why they're not getting stronger. Well, you don't have any muscle. Mass moves mass. Like, do you think that you can just magically lift a bunch of really heavy weight with no muscle? I don't care that there's 3 people in the entire world who do it. There's also 7 billion people in the world. If you can only find 3 people who do it, you might want to factor in that there's bizarre, crazy, strange mutant outliers, since no one else seems to be able to do it except for a tiny handful of guys. And they're usually short. Okay, if you're 5'9", or what on the internet they call 6 foot, right? Then you're going to have to get bigger. You're going to have to gain weight. Like, if you need to gain 10 pounds of muscle to see a massive change in strength, do you think you're going to stay 155 pounds and put on 10 pounds of muscle in any reasonable time frame? Okay, maybe if you spent 5 years, right? Or if you're willing to do the right gear and stay at maintenance, yeah, you could do it. Do you think you're going to put on 10 pounds of muscle at the same body weight inside of a year? That's delusional. You're going to have to gain weight. You're going to have to eat. Even if you made purely lean gains, if you were to dial in everything perfectly enough to get purely lean gains, you're still going to have to gain 10 pounds to put on 10 pounds of muscle. Okay? This isn't complicated. Size equals strength potential. You're going to have to gain some muscle. You're going to have to sleep. You're going to have to eat. You're going to have to do some training volume. And it doesn't matter that I say, hey, I had this guy over here who on the minimalist program got to this strength level. Well, it doesn't seem to be working for you. You're going to need more training volume. Maybe you're not able to put as much into every set as that person was. Okay, there's something that we also notice with the guys who can get pretty strong and pretty jacked on lower volumes of training. They tend to be able to do a lot of work in force production in a single set. right? They're the guys who, when they put 315 on the bar and do a 5-rep set of squats as they're building up, the bar just explodes on every single rep. And they're able to basically replicate their 5-rep max multiple times and bend the bar on every rep. Right? If you're moving it slow and grindy and leaving reps in the tank, you're not going to get big on that type of training. It's not going to happen. Okay, and it's just not in your genetic cards. You're going to need more training volume. You're going to need to throw in some 10s and 12s and other supplemental work. The squat and the bench program alone is not going to get you there. And you're going to have to eat. Doesn't matter that guys say, "Oh, I'm eating already." Well, you're not eating enough because the scale's not going up. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.